All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the shop. Tonight, we are going to attempt to make a Celtic knot blank, and if there is time, we're going to try to turn that blank. So I hope you guys are ready for some fun. I have my daughter here helping me with comments. I know a lot of you guys like to say, hey, what's up, or hi from wherever. I'm not going to really be responding to those tonight because I need to focus on what I'm doing since I will actually be working with some of the tools in the shop. But if you have questions, please do ask them, and then she will stop me and ask the questions, and I'll do my best to get them answered for you. So we're going to wait just a couple of minutes to let a few more people get on, and then we'll get started because we are about 5 minutes early. So if anybody has any questions they want to start with, I'd be happy to try to answer them. No questions? Oh my gosh. You guys know I love to talk. Somebody better ask a question. I won't be able to take it. We are all set up here in the shop and ready to have a little fun tonight. So I hope this goes smooth. I've been looking forward to it all day, and I hope it goes smooth. So should be fun. One warning: if you guys are listening with earbuds or headphones, I'll try to warn you before I fire up something like the table saw, because in a video, I normally mute that sound down a little bit so it doesn't blow your eardrums out. But live, I don't have the opportunity to do that. So when I fire up the saw, you're going to get the full-on sound of the table saw.
What wood are you using?
What wood am I using? Today, I'm just going to use a little bit of maple, and I've got some walnut, pieces of walnut I've cut that will insert in the wood. And I did this just for ease of use. This was some wood that I had available, and it just was super convenient. And walnut and maple are so beautiful together. It's going to make a gorgeous blank.
Nigel France said, can you use a bandsaw for the cuts you made, Mom?
Hey, Nigel, what are you doing up? It's midnight, brother. You better get some sleep. I'm just messing with you. The answer is yes, you can. I would not use my bandsaw, and the reason why is I have a very thin blade, maybe 1/4 of an inch. If you had a little thicker blade to where the blade stayed, it didn't flex as much. My blade is thin, so it flexes a lot. And I tried this on the bandsaw, and I ended up getting kind of wavy cuts. So as long as you've got a decent, smooth cut blade, and it's a thicker blade that won't flex, I think you could pull this off. As a matter of fact, a buddy of mine, Don, oh shoot, I forgot his name. Darn it, it'll come to me. I've got a buddy who actually makes a jig for his bandsaw and does all of this on the bandsaw with even thinner pieces of wood. I'll be using an 1/8 inch wood because I have an 1/8 inch kerf on my blade.
Cheryl Rosenberger said, how long have you been turning?
Hey, Cheryl, how are you doing? I think I started turning back around 2011. Now, when I say started turning, I tore up a lot of wood. Let's just put it that way. It was probably about 2013 before I started getting any consistency in what I was doing and started kind of understanding a little more about the tools. And you know, I still am learning every day. Every time I turn, I learn something new. So let's just say about 2011.
Chris Walters says he doesn't have a pressure pot, so how can he let resin cure quickly without the pot?
Well, what you would do is probably not use something like a Lumelite. You could use something like a polyester resin, which doesn't necessarily require a pressure pot. You know, the thing about a pressure pot is if your resin has a lot of bubbles in it, the pressure pot squeezes those bubbles. They're still there, but they become microscopic, so then you can't see them with the human eye. So it looks like the bubbles are gone. But if you put that pressure on and squeeze the bubbles out, and then you turn the pressure pot off before the resin fully cures, those bubbles will expand and come back. Something like polyester resin, I don't think you have to use, I can't remember if you have to heat that with like a torch or if you can just pour it and let it cure. But it's just the type of resin you use. I'm not a huge, I don't have a huge amount of knowledge on resin, so there are some other people like Zach Higgins or even Mike DeLalter who probably could give you a lot better information on types of resins to use.
Ed Cummings doesn't have a question, but he has an idea for your Charlie Brown blade. What if you used 3 different contrasting woods so you had different colored ovals on each side?
You know, that is a really good idea, and it's easily doable because, you know, like I said, you build the blanks separately. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work, and that has some potential. We may try something like that. I know I've been experimenting with blanks, and I plan to make some more of the Charlie Brown because they made such a cool pin when I turned them. So I may give that a try. Great idea, Ted. Thank you. Okay, guys, that's about it for now. Is it after 6 o'clock?
It's 6:01.
All right, guys, it's 6:01. Let's go ahead and get started. We have got a lot to do tonight. So what I'm going to do is get you repositioned over here so you can see the saw, and then we're going to talk about a few things. All right, are you able to see?
Yes.
Okay, what I've got here is a piece of maple, and I cut this maple. It's perfectly square. I squared it up on my table saw, and I found the center. Okay, then I marked each section 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I did that for my own benefit because as I cut this, I can cut side 1, and then I can flip it and cut side 2. What happens with me is I get lost in where the cut needs to be, and I don't want to make 2 cuts on the same side. Now I have a very, very fancy table saw sled. You don't need something quite this fancy. You could use your miter gauge, right? And you could mount a board to your miter gauge to lengthen it out so that it meets up with the blade. And then you could clamp this to your miter gauge, and that would work just as well. I have this, so I'm going to use it. And what I've done is I have 2 blanks that are this length. I think it's right around 9.25 inches. I set a stop block. This is an important thing. If you use your miter gauge, clamp a piece of scrap wood on there to butt these against. And what will happen is when I cut this and I take it out and glue my strip in, when I want to bring it back and cut side 2, I can lay it right against the stop block, and I'm going to cut at the exact same point on the blank, which is going to keep my Celtic knot uniform. The other thing is, when you do this, use a clamp to hold it. Don't hold this with your hand because you don't want your hand that close to the blade. Mine has these little clamps on it like this. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to press it against the fence and against the stop block, and I'm going to crank this down. You could use a clamp here and a clamp for the stop block, and you'd be doing just as well. I've got my angle set at 50 degrees, and what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to test and make sure. Okay, I need to drop that blade just a little bit. All right. I've got right about 1/4 inch below the surface of the blank, so that blade is only going to cut to about there. And you want to do that because if this gets separated, then you're talking about a 50-degree angle. It's going to be hard to clamp it and hold it all together. But by only cutting partially through the blank, I can glue my blocking, and you're going to turn that outside area off anyway when you turn. So that's going to work just fine. Now I've got this where side 1, this one's also marked 1, 2, 3, and 4, but side 1 is down on the table. Now, if you have headphones in or earbuds, you might want to turn them off for a minute because the saw is going to get kind of loud. But we are about to cut. I've got this set to 55 degrees. I said 50 a minute ago. We're about to cut through our blank, make our first cut. So, okay, be prepared. Here comes the saw. We just made our first 55-degree cut, and we have a 1/8 inch slice of wood that's going to fit perfectly into that cut on the wood. Now, what I want to do is there's a couple of fuzzies there that my blade left. I actually need to clean my blade or possibly even replace it, but I'm just going to take those fuzzies off. This is ready to go. Let me turn the camera over here, and we'll get things glued up. Actually, before we do that, I want to make 2 blanks tonight instead of 1. That way, if we have an issue, we've got a backup, and hopefully we can finish up the night with a turning. So this is the same length. I'm setting it against a stop block. I'm just going to lock it in. And the beauty of this is, if you want to make these for production, say you're making these to go to a show or something, you could just sit here, as long as your blanks are the same length, and you could turn one after another. Just make all side 1 cuts, glue them up. All side 2 cuts, glue them up. Okay, we are ready. Be prepared. Saw's going to be loud. And I've got my little piece of sandpaper. This is a piece of 220, and I'm just using it to knock. There's a couple little fuzzies that my blade is leaving, and I'm just knocking those off. All right, we've got 2 blanks ready to go. Let me kind of adjust the camera. Can you see the glue up area, or do I need to drop it down a little bit? Okay, let's drop down just a little bit. How's that look?
How deep are you cutting?
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. How deep am I cutting?
Yes.
I'm cutting over 3/4 of the way through the blank. This is a little less than 1/4 of an inch, and I just leave that because we'll turn that away. Obviously, when we put our tube in there, we'll turn that away. But I just leave that, and like I said, I just do it by eye, and that's a little less than 1/4 of an inch. Just make sure you leave enough to hold it on, but not so much that it's going to get into the Celtic knot. I hope that makes sense. Tonight, we are going to be using medium CA glue. Now, normally, I would prefer to use wood glue on this, but we're in a hurry, so we're going to use a little medium CA and some accelerator. Just going to smear a nice liberal amount of CA on the blank. And you'll notice I'm putting the CA only, I'm going to put it on the bottom too. There we go. I'm putting the CA only midway down the piece of wood, because as I seat the piece of wood, you can see the CA squishing out on the blank, and it'll squish out and get all over our sides of our piece of wood. Okay, there we go. I'm going to let that one set for a second and go ahead and glue this one up. Okay. I'm using this pin insertion tool, making sure that the walnut is flat against the bottom of the blank, because I don't want to get my fingers full of CA. Now what we're going to do is, it's going to use a little accelerator and dry that, or cure that. Okay, I'm going to give these just a couple seconds for the accelerator to work. I can see it. You can see it bubbling there, and we'll give it just a couple of seconds, because if I go to the sander too quick, I'll just fill my sandpaper with CA glue. Has anybody got any questions? Okay. That's feeling pretty dry. Let me turn this around. We're going to get over to the sander. How we look? Can we see the sander?
Yep.
Okay. Oops. All right. Now what we want to do on the sander is we're going to sand these down so they're flat with the surface, but you've got to be careful. You don't want to sand away any of your surface. You don't want to make your blank no longer square. So we're just going to take our time and clean up the sides of these blanks. And I am going to turn on my dust collector for this, simply because it's going to get really nasty in here if I don't. There we go. All right, we got the dust collector. All right, here we go. Get ready, it's going to get loud. You've got both. Oh, sorry.
Donald says, how many times have you glued yourself to a blank?
I've never glued myself to a blank, but I have glued these two fingers together using thin CA glue. They come apart with a little bit of acetone. Now what we've done is I didn't take any of the blank away, but I sanded the insert down level with the blank, and you need that because we just did side 1. Now we're going to do side 2, and we need this to set flat on the table saw. So let's head back over to our table saw, and let's cut the next side. Okay, how do we look there? Okay. Oh. Okay, you'll recall that I marked my blanks, and side 1 was down. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this so side 2 is down. We're just going to put it against the stop block, and then we're going to clamp it right down against the fence. And be prepared, it's going to get loud for a second. Okay, it looks pretty good. Not too much cleanup. That actually was a nice clean cut. Boy, I like that. All right, let's get our next pieces of walnut glued in. Can you see my glue up area okay? Yep. Okay.
Exactly. What does it make your table saw?
My table saw is a Porter cable. It was purchased from Lowe's when it was new. I didn't buy it. Someone else did, and I got it from them. And it's not a bad table saw. It's been a decent saw for me. Let me get some glue on here. Okay. All right. Wipe the excess glue off of the insertion tool. And let's get a little bit of activator. Anybody got any questions while we let these dry for a second and finish curing?
Nigel says, what are your measurements from the end of the blank?
Okay, that's great, Nigel. What I did is I just took my tube and I laid it on the blank, okay? And I kind of figured, you know, I just kind of estimated from top to bottom. It looked like there was about a ½ inch here, so I gave it, obviously I'll cut it off at about a ½ inch, but I'll center this. I didn't really do any special measurement. It was all, I put it in here and I used the blank and just kind of adjusted it so that I could make sure the knot comes out in the center of the blank. I hope that makes sense, but I did not get real technical with measurements.
George Wilmot says, what's your favorite wood combination for contrast?
Probably something like yellow heart and purple heart, or walnut and maple. I love the contrast of walnut and maple. Let's head over to the sander. Can you see the sander okay, sis? Is that perfect? Yep. Okay, we're going to get noisy again, guys, so turn the volume way down. All right, before we head back to the table saw, I want to point out something. Notice my first cut, and there's my second cut, and notice how they parallel one another, almost like it was the same cut. That's what you're looking for. That's why we're using the stop block. It keeps these pieces together, and then the top, it's a little harder to see, but as we go around the blank, oops, I did miss trimming that piece off. I'll trim that off real quick. But the top is the same way. It looks like it looks like almost you just have a single piece of material through the top of the blank. Hang on, guys. We're going to fire this up and get this. All right, that's a little better. And you notice you've got that little gap there where we left the piece of wood, but that little piece there is going to turn right away when we make our blank. All right, let's head back over to the table saw for cut number 3. How we look?
Yes. Todd said, what brand turning tools do you prefer?
I used Benjamin's Best forever, but lately I've been buying Robert Sorby. If I could afford it, if I had the money, I'd probably go Doug Thompson. I had a chance to use some Doug Thompson tools once, and there is literally nothing like them. They're just amazing. But you're going to pay for them. They're not cheap. Okay, side 3 is going to go down. Okay, it's against the stop block. It's against the fence. Let's lock it in place. All right, protect your ears. We're going to cut this piece. Whoa, I saw that move. It looked like it moved. I don't know if it did or not. Yeah, I think it did. What happened is my clamp was on the lip of my fence. So hopefully we didn't mess it up too bad. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, I think I caught it in time. We got a little nick at the top here, but it's only about a little less than 1/4 of an inch in, so that will turn away. Thank goodness I was paying attention. My clamp got caught on the lip of my fence, so the blank was just riding free on the sled.
Art Alonso asked if we only have 6-inch lengths, will this still work?
Yes, it will. The original blanks that I used were 6-inch. Going with a 55-degree angle, if I would have been using my miter gauge, I could have just clamped the blanks against a sacrificial fence. Since I'm using my sled, I couldn't get the clamp in far enough to hold with the stop block in the way. I couldn't get it in far enough to hold a standard 5-inch pin blank. So you might have to kind of work with that on your sled, but that's why I went ahead and decided to use longer blanks. And in reality, what I should have done was cut this side and then cut this side, and I could have made, 2 blanks. I could have been making 4 blanks instead of 2. Okay, let's get over here and do a little glue up. Can you see that okay?
Yes. George Wilmore asked, what grit sanding disc do you use?
That is a 120 grit sanding disc.
Nigel France asked, have you ever tried this with resin and wood?
Have I ever done this with resin and wood?
Yes.
No, I have not, but I do not see any reason why it would not work, and definitely would be willing to try something like that, because I think it could make for an incredibly beautiful blank if you get the right contrast of wood to resin. And you could even make, there's no reason why you couldn't even make acrylic inserts and use a wood blank with acrylic inserts. Now, we'll let you guys know something. If you take a look at this, I don't know how well you can see it, but the grain is going this way. This was actually cut at 30 degrees. Now, normally I make these at 30 degrees, but I wanted to make a wider Celtic knot. I should have made some more of these little slivers of wood today at a 55-degree angle, because when you cut these at a 55 and then you glue them into a 55 cut, it makes the grain straight, which means you're going to have less trouble turning. So it'll help that we're at 30 degrees, but we could have a tiny bit of trouble turning because we're not at 55 degrees. I don't think it's going to affect us too much, though. Okay. My glue is starting to tack up on the lid. There we go.
Can I ask how long you wait when using wood glue before making the next cut?
Minimum of about 20 minutes with Titebond at a minimum. Probably more like about a half an hour or so. Usually when I do that, Ted, I usually try to have another project going so that I can cut them. And then while the glue is drying, I'll take off and work on something else in the shop. You know, maybe preparing some more blanks or whatever, because Titebond takes about 20 minutes to really tack up and be usable. Okay, let me wipe that off. There we go. All right, little activator here. Okay, let's give that a couple seconds to dry. I'm going to grab a quick drink of water. Are there any questions?
Not right now.
There we go. All right, back over to the sander. Can you see my sander? A little to the left? All right, perfect. I'm just making sure when you put the activator on there, it dries the outside. There's a glob of CA. It dries the outside instantly, but below the surface, it's still curing, and it sometimes takes a minute. So what I'm doing is pressing with my fingernail, and just to see if it's still liquidy, and it is. So what I'm going to do is hit this. I broke it with my fingernail. I broke through the surface, so I'm just going to hit it with a tiny bit more activator, and because we've got a lot of CA we're putting in there, so I really want to make sure that it gets a chance to cure. All right, be prepared. It's going to get loud, guys. This is just a little block of rubber. I got this at a place called Harbor Freight, which is a discount tool store. And normally, they start out about this size. But I've had this one for many, many years. And you can see that I've cleaned a lot of sandpaper discs with that. And basically what it does is as wood fibers and just garbage gets stuck in your sandpaper, this cleans it off. Now, notice I've still got some marks on there. That's because we had pockets of CA that wasn't fully dry, so I've got CA glue on my disc. This disc is not going to last very long. Normally, you know, I would let the glue dry, but this is sacrificial for tonight. But this area here is smooth and is not going to do much sanding, so, you know, bear that in mind if you're going to try to make these quickly and use CA glue. You're going to have an issue with your sandpaper. All right, let's get back over to the table saw. The blank was 3/4 by 3/4. Can we see the table saw?
Yes.
All right, and we're ready. We've got 3 cuts now. And if you look, wait a minute. Yeah, I've got 3 cuts. Don't I? Did I not make 3 cuts on that blank? I'll be darned, I didn't make my second cut on that blank, did I? I could have swore. Oh, you know what? Okay, guys, guess what? Remember earlier I said we marked the blank? I just made the same cut twice. I just cut the walnut out of this blank and glued another piece of walnut right into its slot. That's what we've got to watch out for. So I had side 1 down, and I made my cut. Double check this. Yep, we're missing a cut. I started on side 2, so I did side 2, then side 3, and then I did side 2 again. So let's fix this blank real quick. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this one back in. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and cut our 4th side on this one, and then we'll finish that one up, and we'll have it as a backup when we turn. So let's see, that's side 1, side 2, side 3, and side 4. Yep, okay. This one we've done well. We followed our instructions. So let's go ahead and cut the blank. Okay. Can you see my glue up area?
Yep.
That's perfect? Okay. Now, so you see what I did there, guys. I got to looking at this, and I missed one of my cuts. So this one will have, because you can tell because they start wrapping around the bottom. But we'll go ahead and get this fixed up. We'll make that final cut, and then we'll be good to go. I tell you what, my blade is doing a really nice job tonight. It's not leaving a lot of fuzzies. I'm happy with that. Almost no fuzzies at all. Okay. A couple of blanks here. And once again, I do recommend going with something like a Type Bond 2, a decent wood glue. If you haven't got wood glue, then go with an epoxy. CA is okay, but I just think you get better adhesion with, some of the different styles of glue. Okay, let that set for a second.
I believe you already answered a question like this, but Thomas Tate said, do you have any thoughts about putting acrylic as a segment?
Yeah, Thomas, definitely. You could use acrylic, no problem, and I think it would look absolutely amazing. It would be just like a hybrid blank at that point. I mean, you would have acrylic and wood, and I think if you pick the right color acrylic, you could really set a wood blank off. I think it'd look amazing. I've never done it personally, but I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to. Okay, what I'm going to do here, let's wipe this off. This time, if anybody's got any questions, I'll take a couple of questions because I want to give these a little longer to cure to avoid gumming up the sandpaper too much more. And then we'll make our final cut on this blank, and we'll be ready to get these prepped for turning. Any other questions, guys? I'm going to grab a drink of water while we wait. Okay. What's that?
Look at this.
Eddie Stipe says he doesn't know who my helper is, but they're doing a very good job. The helper is my daughter, Eddie. She's been in videos before, helped me do a couple of other lives way back, in the early days, and she agreed to join me in the shop tonight, and I think she's doing a great job as well. Okay, can you see my sander? There we go. How about that? Perfect. All right, let's get these cleaned up. forgot to turn on my dust collector for that one. Okay, we're going to go make the final cut on this blank. Can you see the table saw okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I was the one in the soda video, and Rick, I have turned pins before.
Yep, both of those things are true. Yep. Did you hear that? She was the one in the soda video, and she has turned pins before. It's been a while, but she's turned them. Okay, we're going to make our last cut on this blank. Dang it. I just did it again. I've got myself so off when I missed that first one. I just cut a piece out. Look at that. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and park this blank. The other one's doing okay. If we screw the other one up, we'll come back and finish this blank, but we're just going to let it ride for now. Let me get the blade lowered because we don't want to leave that up. And that's why I numbered them. So if I followed my numbering sequence, I would have been fine. Okay, we now are going to, let me grab the other blank. And here's what we're going to do. You asked earlier how far down I was making my cuts. Oh, sorry. You asked earlier how far down I was making my cuts. And really, the farther down, the better. You want to be able to center your tube. And basically, we're going to just eyeball and center the tube. And it looks like really about right there. So let's turn on to the bandsaw. Can you see the bandsaw table okay? All right, and we're just going to freehand cut this off. And I'm going to cut a little wide because I'd rather have a little extra and trim it off than not have enough. All right, and here's our initial blank. Let's head over to the drill press. We've already got our center mark marked, and we've already got a dimple in it. So we're ready to head over to the drill press and drill this out. So this will take just a second for us to move around. Whoops. Sorry, I might have got on the camera there for a brief second. Uh-oh, we're caught back there. There we go. Keep her coming this way. Oh, you getting caught on stuff? There we go. All right. All right, we're at the drill press. Let me turn this fan off. Well, actually, you probably can't hear that fan too loud because I've got the mic on my chest. Just going to lock my blank down. And I'm going to put the point of the brad point bit in the dimple, and now we're ready to drill. And while we're drilling, you're going to see me eject the bit from the blank many, many times because I want to clear all those chips. If you leave those chips packed into the drill bit, it's going to cause it to build heat. The more heat you build, the more chance you're going to have of destroying the blank. So we're going to take our time, drill slowly, but clear often. All right, we're through, and it looks like we hit pretty darn close to the center. So I'm hoping our pattern, if we've centered this, then we're going to get a great pattern when we turn it. So back to the table saw, and we'll get a tube glued into our blank. There we go. All right. Perfect. That look good? All right. I'm going to use my brush and clean any debris out of the tube. Out of the blank. I have already scuffed up my tube. So we are going to, once again, use medium CA. Now, I don't usually use CA for gluing tubes and blanks, but since we're under a time constraint, we're going to just do what we've got to do to make this work.
What sort of sandpaper you use for the tube?
I used a 120 grit and basically just scuffed them up to where I swirl them a little bit so that I get nice deep scratches all over them.
Nigel Friends asked if you've ever tried napkin art on a template.
Ever tried what?
Napkin art?
Napkin art? No, I can't. I can't say that I have. I'm not sure what it is, Nigel, but I'd be interested to know. I'm just going to hit the whole blank because as I drilled, I could see a little bit of stickiness on the drill bit because the CA glue wasn't cured all the way through the blank. Let me wipe my CA glue off, get the cap on it here so it doesn't dry. All right. Now we are going to give this a couple of minutes to dry because when I shoot it, I shoot the activator into the end of the blank and it starts drying from the end of the blank in. So it may take a bit for it to get to the center. So we've got time for a couple of questions. While we're waiting on those questions, I just set that in CA. There we go. While we're waiting on those questions, I'm going to go ahead and glue this up just so it's ready to go because at some point I will finish this blank. There's no sense in wasting it because it's a really nice blank.
Thomas Tate asked, what jet models do you have? After his fry, he needs a new lathe.
Give me a second, Thomas, and I will look at that. I don't remember the model number, but it's right on the back of the motor, so I will be happy to get that for you. All right, there we go. Now the issue is I've got that glued in there, but I don't know that I have another. I do have another strip, but it's a small one. However, if I center that, I think we'll be okay. All right, let's let this dry, and we'll clean it up in just a minute. I do want to give this just a few more minutes because if the blank is, well, if it was a little bit warm, but not too bad, the CA where it's curing. All right, let's go ahead and take it to the sander. Can you see the sander? To the left? All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean this one up so that way next time we get over by the saw, we can go ahead and square it and I'll figure out where to put it to get that last cut. Oh, let's get a little bit of, actually before we move forward, we're going to clean that up, but I'm set up here. I've got a punch that is perfect for the 27/64" tube, and this will allow me to square my blank. I really like this little jig simply because I can grab a punch of whatever size I need to fit my tube. I can insert it into this jig, and I'm able to square it. If you use carbide cutters or barrel trimmers, you have to buy the proper shaft for each of your barrel trimmers, and I think they're like 12, 15, 16 bucks a piece. Some of them get kind of expensive, and barrel trimmers are far too aggressive. This is way less aggressive, and I have not had an issue with damaging a blank since I started using this sanding jig. But barrel trimmers, I can't tell you how many blanks I destroyed. Okay, get ready. It's going to get noisy, so turn those headphones, that volume down. Let me grab my little brush here. I'm cleaning out the inside of the tube so that when I put my bushings in, if there's debris in there, it can cause the blank to be a little bit off. And even a fraction off, you put a lip on one side of your blank. I'm also looking to see if any CA glue migrated inside of the tube when I was inserting the tube into the blank, because if there's CA glue along the rim, then I would get a file and clean that out. And it looks good on both ends. I don't have anything. So we are ready to head over to the lathe and get this chucked up for turning. All right, we get to move again, sis. Okay. Can you turn that? Can you just rotate the cart? There you go. There you go. All right, a little closer, a little closer. Now, you might try to push back that way. There we go. That's probably going to be good.
Yep.
And you can see the lathe?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I can't zoom in like I usually do because, you know, I don't have my normal camera. How many people we got watching, sis?
62.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay.
Thomas Tate said, any consideration to doing a double knot where you cut one knot and the shit is down by 1/8 of an inch and cutting another one and overlapping them?
Yes, believe it or not, I've got something similar to that on my list, as well as a 6 and an 8-sided knot. So hoping to do some of those in the near future. Now, I'm not going to be using dust collection today because it'll make it difficult to see with our current setup. So we're going to have to just turn this like it is and just sort of deal with it. Let me get a quick drink of water and a face mask and we'll start turning.
Thanks for making great vids and gave $2.
Well, thank you. Oh, hey, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. That was Bedcock Farms. Bedcock Farms, thank you so much. I really appreciate the donation at the live chat there. Thank you. Truly appreciate it. All right, face mask. All right, guys, I don't know this. You may want to kind of guard your headphones because I don't know how loud this will get without the dust collector, but you know how it is when you're turning. Sometimes you'll pick up noise, so be ready. Let's stop and see how she looks. You can see how it's starting to come together. The wood, the reason why there's maple there is that's the little section of wood that we left on the blank as we glued our walnut strip in. You notice some chip out there. That's because we're still at the end of the wood, and that piece of wood was cut at a 30-degree angle, so it had a 30-degree lip on it, and that's just chipping out. That'll go away. That'll all clean up. You can see right there. That'll all clean up as we work the blank in. All right. felt that tool bumping around. Yeah, looky there. I took a couple of chunks out. We're still okay. I don't understand. I don't know how I caught that, but let me check my skew. Oh, you know why? I've got a little bit of CA glue right there. Let me take this over to the drill press and basically run the strop on it. That piece of CA glue on there probably kept me bouncing on the surface as opposed to laying down smooth, and the bounce probably caused me to catch and chip that. We still got plenty of lip over here, so we won't have any issue. We'll turn all that away, but I just want to be really careful. So let me move you around a little bit.
Do you ever knock the corner off of your bandsaw or sander before you start to turn?
I have before, but you know what? I got kind of tired of doing it. It just took extra time, and I didn't really feel like I got any benefit for it, so I quit doing it. But there are a lot of people who do that technique and really swear by it. Can you see the drill press okay? Okay, great questions, both of them. I am using a Robert Sorby skew, and I switched to this skew about 2 weekends ago. I watched a couple of John Lucas videos on how to use the skew. It's John 60, so John 60 Lucas. And he talked about sharpening the skew. I followed his procedure for sharpening and basically followed his procedure for usage, and I won't go back to the rough and gouge. This is going to be the new tool of choice in the shop. This is a leather strop, and I don't know how well you can see this, but watch what it'll do. It just shaved the hair right off your arm. That's how sharp. Once I got the edge on this tool that John taught me how to do in his video, basically all I need to do is strop it periodically to keep that edge, and you see how quick that was. This is just a power strop. It is a leather. It's several pieces of leather that are just sort of clamped together, and I just use a little bit of this resin bar on it. I forget what that's called. White resin, diamonds maybe. I can't remember, but it came together as a package, and I got it at Woodcraft, and I love it. It does a great job. It works on all of my tools, but it does a great job stropping the tools and keeping them nice and sharp. Let's move back over to the lathe.
Ronald asked what brand lathe you have.
Oh, you know what? I have a jet lathe, and I think Thomas Tate wanted to know the model number of this jet lathe earlier, and the model number is, maybe it's on the back side. It's not on that side. Let me look around back. Where did I've seen the model. Oh, here we go. This is a jet mini lathe, and it is model number JML 1014, so it would be called a jet 1014. Okay, let's see if this stropping helped at all. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can turn away some of this damage that I did. I felt it there. I just took a chunk out, I think. No, I didn't. Yeah, I did, right there. Tell you what, I've got a sharp edge on there. Let me drop this down a little bit. I may be too high.
Someone asked, what's the best way to get the Celtic knots to line up? They're having trouble with that.
Using a stop block so that you always put your blank back in the same position for cutting. Man, I tell you what, it looks pretty good. I'm feeling all kinds of bumping right in here. It must be because I'm hitting that little gap or something. The blank looks good. There's a little nick right there, but I still got plenty of meat. I just get real nervous when I feel, I'm still new to the skew, so I get real nervous when I feel any type of movement. Okay, we're perfect at the bushings. We still need to do a little work in the middle, but let's see how we look. We're looking pretty good. The knot is starting to come together. We need to take a little bit of meat out. We've got a gap right there in the walnut, and that's probably from the cut. We could fill that with a little bit of walnut dust and some CA, and it should disappear.
Randy Mick gave $10.
Oh my gosh, Randy, thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. I really do. Randy Mick, thank you, sir. Fantastic. Let's go ahead real quick right now, and this is not tear out that we had, but let's get this filled because you know, I want to be able to turn away as I turn and clean that up. This is almost, we just need to take a little bit more off, and that'll meet. And did we miss a cut? Wow, we need to take, I guess we got to take a little more off there. So yeah, but we could tell there's a big hump in the middle. So let's go ahead and get this filled real quick. I'm going to get some walnut dust, and we're going to put some CA in there, and we're going to fill that. Okay, guys, I'm just grabbing a piece of walnut, and let me get a piece of sandpaper, and we're going to make some walnut dust. Let's see. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but really I'm just digging through my sandpaper drawer and getting out some sandpaper. I want some coarse sandpaper. What do we got here? That's too smooth. That'll work.
You can put it on a drill truck on the spindle if you don't have a drill press.
A drill? I don't see why not. I think that would work. I don't see why it would not work. Can you see what I'm doing over here? Okay. Let's loosen this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a piece of sandpaper, and I'm just rubbing a walnut blank on it to create some walnut dust. I'm going to put that right there, and I've got, let's see, I was looking for a file. Here it is. I'm just going to try to force that dust down into that little area.
Have you ever tried carbide blade tools for all that?
Carbide blade tools like Easy Wood?
No, like carbide blade.
Yes, that'd be like Easy Wood tools. I have tried them. I actually have several, 2 or 3 of them, maybe 4. And they're okay, but I grew up using these high-speed steel, and what happens is with high-speed steel, when you turn with them, you drop the tool handle, because you're trying to ride the bevel. And what happens when I use the easy tools, the EasyWood tools, carbide tools, I go in straight, and then muscle memory takes over. I drop the handle. I get these horrendous catches, and I destroy my blanks. Are you able to see me filling that blank too, sis? You can see me putting the dust in the blank? Okay. I'm just creating dust, and I'm just filling this hole, and just poking it down in there with this file. Anything pointy will do. We're just going to keep pushing it down in there until we get that level with the surface. So this will take a minute or two, but there we go. Now, I think I've got it pretty well full. Okay. Just going to take some thin CA glue, and I'm just going to put a little thin CA glue right on there. And it's going to be a little bumpy because we had dust all over the place, but we're going to turn that away. I'm going to get some accelerator here, and I'm going to give that a quick shot. Okay. And, yeah, she's dry. I can still feel a little bit of a bump there, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little more of the dust on top of that particular fill. I'm just trying to get it either level or above the surface of the blank. That way we can turn it down even and we get a nice clean fix. There we go. All right, how about a little bit more CA glue? Just a drop. And a little bit of a sprit. Okay. Yep, we're above the surface now. That looks good. Okay, we've got quite a bit of turning on this side to do, but I can see we're at the bushings on both ends. We're humped up pretty good in the middle. I'm going to run over. You saw me strop this a second ago. I'm going to strop this again just to make sure it's clean and sharp, and then we're going to come back and we're going to finish turning this blank. Anybody got any questions while I'm over here stropping? Okay, just a quick hit on the stropping wheel. There we go. All right, let's is the blank in the middle of the screen?
No, you go to the left.
Like that?
Yeah,
Is it centered now?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I don't feel like my blade is cutting, so I'm going to hit the strop again. You can see there's some CA glue or something on the blade, and probably because it didn't cure all the way, I'm going to get that cleaned off. I'll be right back. All right, the blade is nice and shiny again. I'm just wiping the residue from the white Oh, I didn't have a catch, but I dug in. I don't know how bad, if I can fix that or not. Okay. Yeah, our fix doesn't look great. We still need to go down. We must have been off just a little bit on our blank because we still need to go down deeper in order to get this knot to finish. The rest of the knot looks pretty good, and you can see I just nicked the heck out of that. This is going to be not going to turn out great, but let's see if we can finish it. You know, I'm wondering if we didn't get, when I glued that in, if I didn't get that all the way to the back of the cut, because it's just not, doesn't seem like it's meeting. These don't seem like they're crawling. And I'm actually, the blank is actually concave now. You can see where I nicked it up. I'm going to go ahead, I mean, I've already pretty well lost this blank, so I'm going to go ahead and keep turning. It'll be like a concava. You guys have seen the concava pen? I'm going to go ahead and keep turning and kind of see if I can get these two to come closer together and see if I can clean that nick up. We have nothing to lose at this point. Yeah, we just lost it. I just saw it come out. And it's not going any closer. Let's grab that other blank and see if we can make it work, because this one I need to give up on. You can see I've destroyed it. It was looking good over here. It was starting to come together real nice. Once we cleaned the dust out of there, it would have looked great. But not having that air bubble in there, or that pocket, cost me right there. The fix doesn't look that great. And these two never came closer together. So I'm wondering if I didn't get that sliver of wood, that 1/8 inch strip, all the way down against the back of the blank. So let me head over to the table saw. Let's see if we can make the other one, and this one we'll just throw in the old burn pile. Okay. Just let me slide through there. If you can just pull that out a little bit. Yeah. I caught on that thing there. Whoops. Hang on, let me grab that. Oh, there we go. And we're caught on that. There we are. That's better. All right, guys, we got a little bit more here to do. We're going to try to make this work. Now, apologize for that, but sometimes things don't always go as planned. I'm just bringing the saw blade up. There we go. Let's see. Oh, let me grab the other piece. Okay, I believe I've got it right now. I'm going to check and then double check. That goes in there. Yep, okay, I think we got it right. All right, we're going to go ahead and cut this piece real quick. I think we actually got it right this time. Yep, we got it right. Okay, it only took, what, 3 tries on this blank. Can you see my glue up table?
Yep.
All right, one more time. We're going to see, man, this is going to be tricky. If we use such a small piece. Let me look and see if I've got any more 1/8" strips over here. Let's see. I've got this one. Nope, that's not, well, you know what? That might just work. All right, that might just work. So from about here down, we can always clip this off once we get it glued up. I just really feel disappointed that I had so much trouble with that blank because I was really hoping to give you guys a little better show than that. Okay. All right, we're going to let that set and cure. Anybody got any questions? Let's take a little break here while this cures up, and then we'll get it cleaned up and prepared. We'll get it cleaned up and tubed. Any questions? How many people we got on?
65.
Wow. Well, you guys just witnessed what happens in the shop a lot. I have those errors. I try to show them to you in the videos. We tried to do a live fix. You probably would have seen that blemish with the dust in it, but I was just a little unnerved why we couldn't get the knot to finish out. It didn't make sense, but that's okay. Sometimes things happen. This is starting to dry pretty good. Let me take it over to the bandsaw and trim the excess off. See the bandsaw table? All right. I'm just going to lay the flat end on the table, and we're just going to nick the excess material off. And I can smell the CA glue, so I'm just going to hit this again with the activator because below the surface, that CA had not fully cured. Okay? Can you see my blank, sis? All right, we're going to go ahead and mark this one. All right, back to the table saw or the bandsaw. See the bandsaw? Okay, there's our blank. This one where we glued in the same hole twice, it's kind of ducking down a little bit there. I don't know what that means when it turns. We'll find out. But the rest of the blank looks pretty good. I'm not going to worry about sanding it because we'll just turn that away. Let's head over to the drill press and get a hole drilled down the center of this blank. You're doing good with moving that table. Can you get a little closer this way so I can? All right, can you see the drill press table? All right. We're going to be sure to wipe your table off before you put your vise on there, because I'm going to dump this on the floor because we don't have a garbage can over here. Normally I'd dump it in a garbage can, because if you have debris, your table, if it has debris on the bottom, your vise may not sit level on your table, and it can cause you to drill off center. So always watch for that. Since I've got that piece sticking out there, I want to make sure that I go in. You know what? I'm going to run this over to the sander because I've got a little dimple on both sides, and I'm concerned that it may cause the blank to be cocked a little bit. I'm just going to run over, sand this. I'll be right back. We won't take the camera with us. You're good right there. Okay, what happened was I cut that off with the bandsaw, the piece of walnut, and there was a little bit of a dimple sticking out on each end, and I was worried that I wouldn't have a good fit in my vise. All right, let's go ahead and swap our bits back in there. She looks like she's spinning true. Let's find the center. Okay, we're good to go. Let's drill. Ooh. That drill bit just all of a sudden locked up and quit cutting. Okay, let's see if it helps having that cleaned out a little bit. Yeah, that's better. I'm wondering if there was some CA in there and it basically got on the end of the blank, because it just quit cutting. You could feel it. It was just dull, like it was just pushing against the blank, but it wasn't actually moving through the blank. And I'm worried too, we could have tore that walnut out with the drill bit. Because we are using CA and we're trying to move so quickly, it could have, and matter of fact, my finger just stuck to the outside of the blank. So the CA is still tacky inside of the blank. So that could be why we lost the center portion of that blank. Let's go get a tube drilled into this. All right. Can you see the glue up table? All right. And we need our little brush. Where did I lay my little brush? There it is. Get the debris out of the center of the tube. And I'm going to look down in there. It doesn't look like anything's tore out. But like I said, I think we would have probably had better luck with that blank had we given it time to fully cure, because twice I had CA residue on my skew. So normally you wouldn't do this quite as quickly as we are doing it. Okay, got a liberal amount of CA on there. There we go. She looks like she's pretty centered. Okay, let me wipe this off and give this a couple shots of activator all the way around the blank. I wish I had a little longer to let this set, because I'm worried that that might have been part of our problem. Okay, we're going to give this a few minutes to set. Anybody got any questions for me out there? No questions? Anything? How you guys liking the video so far? I mean, even though we've had a couple of small problems, do you like this kind of a YouTube live video? Is this something you'd be interested in seeing again perhaps with another blank or another turning. All right, let's head over to the sander. No comment, huh?
No.
Wow.
Someone said liking it. It is great. Yes, please.
Okay. I know that sometimes the videos I do where I can actually produce the video are a little bit because I cut this dead time out, but you know, you're seeing the whole process here. This is everything. Okay.
Watching people work in real time. Ted asks, can you only cut two sides of the blade and get a circle instead of the Celtic knot?
The answer is yes. Actually, if you just cut one side of the blank, you would get a kind of a loop through the blank. It would look like a circle going through the blank. So if you cut two, you would just have two circles. It'd be like an X. They would cross like an X. You very well can do that. Okay, we're going to head back over to the lathe and give this one more try. If this one doesn't turn out, then we're going to have to call it quits. I think I'm running at about 400 RPMs. I'd be honest with you, I set it a long time ago, and I just haven't really changed it. It's always been running at the same speed for everything I drill. I know you probably should change it depending on what you're doing, but 400 RPMs has worked good for me. See, it looks like we're down the center of the blank there and down the center there, so I'm hopeful that, whoops, I guess I better put a bushing in it before we stick it in the lathe. I'm hopeful we get a good turning. Okay, that looks good. Like I said, I'm going to get the activator ready, and we're going to turn a little bit and activate because I'm worried. Like I said, I found CA on my skew twice, and the skew needs to be stropped again. I can feel that it's dulled a little bit. So I'm going to strop it real quick, and then we're going to start turning this blank. Give me just a second to get the strop put back into the drill press. So any questions out there, guys? Can I answer anything for you while we got a few seconds of dead video? I think it's 2,850 RPMs according to the belt. Let me take a peek at that, Ted. 2,630. Now I can go to 3975, but I find that 2630 suits me well. I used to turn around 3,000 RPMs on the old lathe, but you know, this one being belted, it's, you know, the other one had a dial where I could dial the speed I wanted, and this one being belted, I kind of have to take what the belts offer. But that seems to suit me just fine. Okay, there we go. Took a second there to get that. There's
a lot of people saying that they like this kind of line.
Okay, good, good. I'm happy you guys like it, and because you do, we'll try to do a few more. You know what? I have laid my shield down, and do you see where I laid my shield? There it is, right there, on top of that thing. Yeah, I want to get my face shield on so I don't get hit in the face by any pieces. Okay, guys, everybody keep your fingers crossed. We're going to give this one more try. We're going to just make sure that if there's any CA on there, we're going to keep it dry. All right, I'm going to hit this on the strop because, see, you can see it's getting a little bit of residue on it. Just a quick little rub on the strop. It doesn't take much, and she's sharp again.
At what point in the term do you start to taper the end?
That's a great question. I usually will start tapering once I get the blank down to where maybe there's an eighth of an inch above the bushings on either side. Then I'll start kind of tapering them down and cleaning up the center section to make sure it looks nice. See how she's progressing. Ooh, we took a little chip out there, but I think we're okay. We still got quite a bit of meat over there. I'm going to strop this again, and I'm also going to hit that with some activator just to make sure, because I can feel the CA. When you're turning and you've got CA on wood, you can feel how much harder it is to turn.
Ryan said you make the chain look by cutting a 45-degree on each side.
A chain?
Yeah.
I definitely know you can cut a 45 on each side. I don't know if it'll make the chain look, Ryan, because as you turn it and round it out, those 45s are going to disappear. So it'd be worth trying, but it might not do the trick. Really worried about this area here where I chipped that out. It's looking a little better. I'm really chewing the blank up, and I don't understand why. Let's try raising this a little bit. And watch this skew. The point of that skew, I hit my thumb, and it doesn't take much of a tap at all. See that right there? That's CA glue on my blank, or on my skew. So let's hit her with the strop and clean that off. If we had used Titebond 2, which is the ideal glue for this, and let it dry normally, we would not be seeing the issues with the CA on the end of our skew.
One asks, how far from the edge should the taper start?
It actually is a personal preference. Everybody likes to shape their blanks differently. I like mine to almost be straight across from end to end, just a very little hump in the center. But I've seen people who like a really thick pin in the center, and then they'll taper it off. And I've seen people not even go down to the bushing; they'll just round over at the bushing. So quite honestly, that really is a personal preference. Whoops. I can really feel a difference in hardness from here to here, where all of the maple or walnut comes together. I'm guessing that's two reasons. Number one, the CA glue that has saturated it, and number two, the fact that it's a 30-degree angle, so I'm actually fighting a little bit of cross grain. Let me, there's some CA on the bottom of my skew. There we go. We're having the same phenomenon we had on the other one, where it's just not coming together. We're going to keep turning. We got plenty of meat. Let's see what happens. We're getting closer. We're almost there. One or two more passes, and we still got a little bit of meat at both ends to clean off. So this one's starting to shape up. Wow, that looks pretty good. We've got just a couple little pieces of maple right there. The shape of the blank is nice. I think we're going to go ahead and start sanding because I think those little pieces will disappear as we sand. And I don't want to take a chance of messing this one up. All right, let's just get this out of the way. I'm going to start with some 120 grit, and we're going to slow the lathe speed down. Let me get rid of this hard hat. I'm going to slow the lathe speed down to around 840 RPMs for this lathe. I used to turn on my old lathe around between 500 and 700. Okay, we are set now. There we go. And I have a real nice fit at the bushings. It won't take much cleanup at all to straighten those out. I'll show you. This is one of my favorite things to do. You've seen me do it before. Make sure we get a nice flat surface. Let me get a hold of that sandpaper. There we go. Oh, you know what? I did it again. I started sanding prior to putting a coat of CA on there to act as a kind of a sanding sealer because that walnut will bleed into that maple. So let me clean this off with some denatured alcohol. We'll put one coat of thin and then we'll get it sanded. Okay, got my DNA. I always forget this step and it's so important. Okay, yeah, that's going to look beautiful when we're done with this. This one's actually going to turn out pretty nice. Notice how the DNA is starting to evaporate. Just going to let it spin for a second and fully evaporate, and then we'll go back to sanding. How we doing on questions, sis? Anybody got any questions for us?
Nope.
Would you be able to hand me my water so I don't have to... There we go. All right. Thank you. All right, let's take a look at the blank. She looks pretty good. We got one little nick there, but that may come out with sanding. Other than that, it looks pretty nice. Grab myself a piece of paper here. This is just a piece of paper towel. Just going to fold it up into quarters. Get some thin CA. And we're just going to put a coat on, a nice thick coat. There we go. That coat of CA glue, basically, you might think, well, how are you going to sand it now? You just put CA on it. But that will, it's thin, so it's going to soak into the blank, which is what we want. And we'll be able to sand right over top of it, and it should be no issue at all. Give it just a few more minutes to dry. I'm not going to use sanding sealer on this. I can feel that it's, you know, you're talking 15, 20 seconds. That stuff is dry. Yeah, and I think we are ready to start sanding. You know what? Let's just give it a second because it may still have a tiny bit of tact. You know what? To heck with it. Let's a little bit of activator. Let's hit it with the activator, and I'm going to wipe the activator off just to get rid of that tack because we are under a major time constraint tonight. Using a blank like this with a flat surface, what that's going to do for you is it's going to take your tool marks out. It's going to really get that blank nice and flat from end to end. Get myself another piece of sandpaper here. The CA glue will cause the sandpaper to gum up a little quicker, but the non-bleeding aspect is way worth it. And you can feel that with your fingers. It feels amazing from end to end. I do have just a little bit of a lip at the bushings, so we're going to sand that down. That one's gone. A little more. Oh, that's perfect. Now let's take a peek at the blank. She looks good, and you can kind of, it's dull looking. That's the CA, but we need to go ahead and, you can't really see it on the maple, it's there, but you can see it on the walnut. You've got scratches, and we need to go back and forth with the grain to eliminate those scratches. Still using the same sandpaper, same grit. You're just going to get rid of the scratches. That's just dust that gets down in there. We will be able to clean that out. What that means is a tiny bit of a gap there, but we'll clean that out with the DNA at the very end. And when we put the CA, it will level it, and you'll never see that. It'll just disappear. That looks really good. Up, there's a little bit of scratch there. Just kind of wipe your blank off and just kind of look it over really good, locating the scratches, because if you don't get them out, you will see them when you put the finish on it. That looks pretty good. Okay, let's get some 200 grit. This is 240. And I'm just going to do the same thing. We don't need the block anymore because the blank is flat. Now we are just basically taking our scratches out. And this is the part here. This is the super boring part that I normally shut the camera off and you guys don't get to see. So if you have questions about anything, even not related to this, now's a great time to ask them, because the level of concentration is a little lower when you are sanding, and I can very easily ask those questions or answer those questions.
Kenny said, do you like the turn between center bushing?
I do. I said it before and I'll say it again. I can't tell much of a difference. I can turn just as well on a mandrel as I can between centers, but there's a convenience factor to turn between centers that I really, really like. So I'm a big fan of them.
Randy says, do you ever invite little people like me into your shop to watch you work your magic?
Little people? Is Randy young, or is Randy just little people? What does that mean? Give me a little more explanation, Randy. I've had a lot of people in my shop. I mean, you're invited into my shop right now. We are working together on a blank.
Stephen from said, did the package he sent you ever show up yet?
Steven, what was in the package, Steven? Because I got a package the other day that did not have a name on it. So it could have been that it's the one you sent me, and I just didn't realize it was from you. Pin blanks. What kind of pin blanks? Okay, we are looking good. She is sanded. I don't see any major scratches. I'm just really kind of going over the blank. A couple of little scratches here and there, taking those out. And like I said, that white area, that's just dust. When we clean that up, it'll disappear, and we'll level that with the medium CA. Okay, let me pick up my trash here. I'm going to get this off of the turning bushings and onto my turn between center bushings, and then we will put clean it and put a CA finish on it.
Steven said to do purple heart and yellow heart.
I haven't received it yet, but I do know that my post office, I had something delivered, and I went today to the post office, and another gentleman sent me something and told me that it should have been delivered today, and it was not. Our post office is bad about not delivering things in a timely fashion. Since I used the P.O. box, I think what happens is sometimes it sets behind the wall there in a bin and just doesn't get delivered on time. So I haven't seen it yet. That's pretty straight, not too bad. You'll never get it perfectly straight since I'm using these between centers, but that's going to work out real well. I'm going to
ask, are bushings drilled with the center drill to ride on the center?
Yes. These bushings here, I like these. Tim Geist makes these, and I like them because they have a long post. A lot of them only come to about here, and what they've got is a 60-degree dimple in the end of them, and that dimple allows it to fit onto the drive center or the live center. Now, I don't have one out. I don't have it yet, but they also make one that is really neat. It's got the 60-degree dimple, but it also has a 1/4-inch hole right down the middle, so you can use the bushing on a mandrel or between centers. Now, if you just take a standard, this is a standard bushing, it doesn't have the dimple, you can still use it between centers, you just have to be sure to align it properly. So as long as you're careful with your alignment, you can use it. Okay, we're going to clean this with some DNA. Grabbing my denatured alcohol. Get our blank cleaned up here. And this is taking the dust out of those little hole sections on the blank. Get a little more DNA on there.
Brian said, does Redwood have about the same chipping problem as maple?
I think Redwood is way more chippy than maple. Now, I've been using some maple that I got from a furniture company. It's cutoffs, and it is a soft maple. It is the chippiest stuff I think I've ever used. It's horrible. This is a piece of hard maple. It's not chippy, so you want to look for hard maple. Now, Redwood tends to be fairly chippy in my past experience.
Thomas Hayes said, have you ever tried taking center drill and adding a 60-degree center by yourself?
I have not, but I don't see why that would not work. You could always chuck that up in, say, a collet chuck or a regular chuck. Your bushing, you could chuck it up by the front part here and hold it, and then you could put a Jacob's chuck in your drill press and use a 60-degree starter bit and clean that out. I think it would work, but I cannot say that I have ever tried it. I just put a piece of tape over my finger, and now I'm going to wrap my finger like this. And what this will do, don't wrap it super tight, but this will protect you from CA glue. And also, once you get this on your finger, you can rub the blank. And by rubbing the blank, what you're going to do is any paper towel that gets stuck on the blank, you're going to clean it right off. All right. Let me grab some paper towels here. We're ready now to go ahead and start applying our CA finish. Want to protect our tabletop. Now with the thin CA, we're only going to wait about 30 seconds or so between coats. And just wipe it right off on those bushings. You don't want to end up with a little bubble at the end of your blank. Okay. Take a look at that, how cool that looks. Isn't that sweet? When you get that first coat on there, you can really see it. Now, we're going to put 5 coats of thin. And what I find is you'll start seeing dull spots as this dries, and that's because it's soaking in. And 5 coats is about the average that I use where I stop seeing the dull spots. It starts to look relatively shiny from end to end. So, and that's just from making so many pins. You may find, depending on the type of CA that you're using, it takes 3 coats, or it takes 6 coats, or 10, or whatever. You can apply as many coats of thin as you want, but you're just basically sealing the blank.
Thomas asked why there's tape on the CA bottle. Did it leak or?
No. I put tape on this CA bottle. Why did I put tape on this CA bottle? Oh, I remember. Because the labels, I got this CA from that buddy of mine that was selling out his shop, and these labels were coming off. So I put tape on there to hold the label on so I could see if it was thin, medium, or thick. That's what that was for. I didn't want to lose my labels. All right, let's go ahead and put another coat on there. Doesn't take that long for that to dry. There we go. And you can see the blank is looking really nice. It's starting to be shiny. This one, because we used a skew and the back, when you turn with the skew, it cuts, and then this part back here kind of burnishes the blank a little bit. So it may not take as many coats, but I'm used to using 5, so we're going to stick with what we know. That's 4. It's really nice. Really looking nice. right, one more coat. Get another paper towel here. I just cut my paper towels into strips. Then I just fold them in half and then fold them in a quarter and hold them so that the folded over end is the end that's out. And then with thin CA, I just drill it on the blank. Medium CA, I'll actually put a bead on the paper towel. And get your fingers off there really quickly, or else that'll stick to your finger or your glove or your tape.
Is there types of blanks that you would never use CA on?
I don't use CA on. Sis, would you be able to grab me that bottle of glue off the table saw? That's my medium CA over there. Now, I do take that back though, because I normally don't use CA on acrylics unless they are hybrids, because you've got to CA the wood. Also, I have once in a while had an acrylic that didn't have a very nice finish even after micromeshing it, so I've been known to sneak a couple coats of CA on there to sort of polish that finish up a little bit. It looks really nice. All right, let me get another paper towel here. I folded it over, and I'm getting my medium CA now. And with the medium CA, I just put a nice dot. Now you got to be careful with this medium, because it will grab sometimes, and when it grabs, it'll stick the paper towel to the blank. And just kind of move it up as you rub it on the blank, and let that CA spread.
Have you ever used varnish or friction polish on wood blanks?
Yes, I have. I've used quite a bit of friction polish. I haven't used varnish. I've used quite a bit of friction polish, and I'm getting ready to try some of this. It's called Aussie oil. This was sent to me by Tommy Stridham, and I decided not to try it tonight, because I wanted to do what I know for this blank. But the next wood blank that I turn, I'll use this Aussie oil on, and we're going to give it a try. It is supposed to be some pretty amazing stuff. I've heard great things about it, but I have never used it before. And if I look in my table over here, I'll show you. You ask about friction polishes. I've got this master wood turner finish. I've got tung oil. I've got a polyacrylic blend. I've got Mylans. I've got Shello wax. I've got crystal paste wax. I've got Turner's Magic Super Gloss. I think that's it. So I don't know if you could see that. Could you see in my cabinet? Okay. So you can see that I've tried tons and tons of different finishes. How we look? Okay. I've tried tons and tons of different finishes, and I love the natural look that a friction polish gives a blank. My problem with it is it doesn't last. If I have a pen and I give it to someone and they use it for 12 months, at the end of 12 months it looks nasty. But if I put CA on there at the end of 12 months, it's still relatively shiny, and I can stick it right back on the lathe, and I can polish it right back up. So I really like CA glue for durability. Plus, when you give somebody something, they like shiny. I don't know what it is, but a shiny pen just looks like it so much more. That's amazing. I can see, okay, at this point, I've had 2 coats. I usually start with 3 of medium, and then I will add as needed. And I'm just watching the line there, and I'm looking for divots. And I can see there's still a few divots. So we're going to have to build it up with 1, maybe 2 more coats to get that surface nice and level. And that's all we're doing, just watching the surface between coats now to make sure we build it up. And we're going to give that a few minutes. I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to get way back, and I'm just going to put just a tiny bit of accelerator on there. I normally don't do that, but the reason why I'm doing it is medium takes a long time to dry, and we don't have a lot of time tonight. So I'm going to try, we're going to use the medium to try to speed the process up. This is where you can get the paper towel really ripped out of your hand, because with the activator on the blank, when you hit it with the CA, it will sometimes cause it to grab.
Tom Tate said, could you use a friction polish on acrylic?
No. You want to use something on acrylics like, I've got this Ultra Gloss. Hut Ultra Gloss is awesome. or something like Plastex. If you want to save a little money, you can get this at Walmart. It's for polishing the headlights of your cars. This stuff is a few dollars a bottle, and it is awesome. Novus is another good one. I don't have any of that, but I've used it at other Turner shops, and Novus is awesome. Okay, let me get another paper towel here. I don't normally use the activator like this, but you know, I'm going to do it tonight. I worry because I think it dries the coating too quickly.
Tim Z asked what your favorite finish is.
CA glue. I love CA. And what I'm doing, I'm just looking the blank over, looking for divots. This is looking really good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to hit that with a little activator, and we're going to let it dry for a few seconds. It's just going to spin and finish drying. And I'm going to grab a paper towel. Okay, we've got a finish on there. I'm just going to wipe the activator off of it. It looks good. It's still, you can tell, I've been using the activator. It's dry. It's not really tacky, but you can tell it's soft. Let me flip this over. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to get this off of the lathe. We're going to run back over to our sanding disc, and we're going to clean the CA fingernails off of it, and then we'll get it back on our turning bushings, and we're going to use our micro mesh and polish the blank. Let me get this tape off my finger. Okay, let's see. Sis, we're going to have to go past you to the sander, and then we're going to come back right back over here. So this is going to be a quick process. I may just let you hold the camera. Well, I'll tell you what, it'll snap into the tripod pretty quickly. Let me just get this tape off my finger. This tape is really stuck. It's good tape. All right. Tape off the finger. Let's get this off of here. Whoops, I dropped that. There it is. Okay, now these bushings are stuck pretty good. Just pop them off. 1, 2, and you see the fingernails. Let's head over to the sander and get rid of them. All right, I'm right behind you. Oh, you're caught there. Okay. You're probably good enough there. I think we can. Let me get this on the tripod. All right, are you able to see the,
Yep.
Ooh, let me turn this around real quick. There we go. Okay, we're just going to take the fingernails off. Now, when you do this, you just barely want to kiss the disc. Don't put any pressure because you're already have sanded down to the tube, and you don't want to take any of your brass away. So just kiss it. All right, let me grab my brush. Once again, we're going to clean the inside of the tube out. You don't want any, see all that dust coming out of there from the sanding? It looks good and clean in there. I don't feel any type of a lip on the edge of the blank. This blank is ready to go back to the lathe for micro meshing. So let's head back over to our lathe. Get you off of there. It's a lot of running around. I've been trying to get my shop more. That's okay that fell off of there. Oh, there we go. Just set that up there. Here we go. I've been trying to get my shop to where more of my stuff is in one area. And I think, you know, that's going to happen over time. It's going to take a little more time, but I want to get the sander and the bandsaw over here and then some type of a table. I've been using my table saw as a bench, but I need some type of a bench over here to work on my blanks. All right. How we doing? Can you see my blank?
Yep.
All right. I've got my 9 micro meshes. They're labeled 1 through 9. I've got a little bit of water here. Just a little cup of water we're going to dip it in. Let me grab a paper towel so that we can wipe the blank off. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you're not trying to sand your CA glue off. So the first 3 or 4 pads are aggressive. Only use them quickly, just to knock down the surface. That's about all I'm going to use that first pad, right? Do not overuse those, or you'll notice dull areas in your blank, and what that means is you've taken your CA off the blank. It's about all you need. You're just...
said, if I save some diamond inserts, would you try them out and see what you think?
I could do that, Thomas. I could do that. The blank is starting to dull a little bit. That's okay. As we get down through, that was pad 4. Now that we get to pad 5, we'll start using the pads a little bit longer, because now we're starting to get, this is such a fine grit that it's more polishing than sanding. Okay? And each one we can use just a little bit longer. Now my micro mesh pads are about ready to be changed out. I can't tell you how many blanks I have micro meshed with these, but I have used them for quite a bit. So they're about ready to be changed out. You can tell it's getting better because the shine kind of starts to stay. The dullness is disappearing, and that shine, after you wipe it off, stays. It gets real shiny with the water, and when you get to the last pad, it should pretty well keep that shine. This right here is the excitement that you guys usually miss in the videos, because normally I turn the camera off for this. So this should be a real treat, all this exciting sanding and polishing. This is the worst part right here. I hate that that first blank didn't turn out. We'd have been a lot farther along if it did, but we're getting really close with this one. Notice how it's shiny after it's been wiped off? We got one more pad. I'm just going to work this last pad for quite a bit, and whenever I wipe the water off of the blank, it ought to keep a pretty nice shine on it. Look at that. Looks like I didn't even wipe the water off. All right. Let's stop this and inspect the blank. That is a beauty. Take a look at that. I can still see a couple of little lines right there from the CA glue. That's probably from using the activator. I think if I was doing this on video, I would tell you that I'm going to run through the pads a second time. I don't think I'm going to run through the pads a second time, only because we are running into a time constraint. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of Renaissance wax. This Renaissance wax, I started using it when I was at the Mid-Ohio Valley Pin Turners Gathering. Rick Troop. This is the polish that they used for the demonstrations, and it was left over, and he asked me if I wanted to try it, and I said that I did. So he basically sent it to me, and it was just, just a very tiny bit used out of the container, because, they only made a dozen pins or so, and it doesn't take much. But I was given this. It's not something I purchased, but I've been super happy with the product and the results that I get. And I'm just going to use my finger, and you can feel it starting to kind of grab a little bit at your skin, and that's when you know the wax is starting to dry and it's ready to be buffed. All right, take a look. It looks a little bit dull right now, but just give me a second. You're going to see that dull disappear. All right, let me grab my mandrel. I like to use a mandrel for this because I can grip it. We'll get our blank put on the mandrel. I'm trying really not to touch the blank because I don't want to take the wax off of it. I mean, I don't know if it would hurt it really, but I want to leave that wax on there as long as possible until I'm ready to buff. There we go. Let me set that aside, and let's change out for our buffing wheels. Knock the live center out of there. Okay. Buffing wheels in. Let's get this out of the way. Tighten her down a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and speed up the lathe simply because I'm going to bump it up to 1240, which is just the next pulley up, simply because I want a little bit more speed to build a little bit of heat for polishing that blank, and it may take those little streaks out that we had. Sometimes this will melt them right out. All right, A little bit of blue rosin. Set that out of the way. And now if you take a look at the blank, if you watch the blank as I turn it, you will start to see just how much shinier that blank gets. Look at that, how it starts to kind of shine. You can see the difference. And I'm putting just very little pressure on the blank, very little pressure. But I want to build that heat. And I usually sand from top to bottom, and then I'll generally flip it over and sand from bottom to top. I'm sorry, I said sand. I meant to say buff. Sometimes I will say the wrong word. How many people we got watching, sis? 8. Oh my goodness. It's pretty darn good. All right, now let's turn it on this wheel. This wheel has nothing on it. It's just kind of sort of buffing up the blank, cleaning off any residue that might be left on it.
Do you prefer variable speed drive lathe or pulley lathe like the one you have now?
You know, I've had both. This is the best lathe I've ever owned. I would love it if it was variable speed. It would save time changing out the belts. Variable speed is really nice, but it's not a necessity. I'm able to do anything I want on this lathe. Some of those little marks came out. What they weren't scratches, but it was kind of like waves in the glue. I could have used one more pass with the micro pads, but I think you can see that's looking really, really nice. You guys want to go press this into a kit? Let me get it off of this mandrel. All right, there we go. We are going to head back over to the table saw. We're going to get this pressed into a kit. There we go. Make sure I don't lose any parts. All right. You ready? All right. We are working our way back over. Oh, did you get caught on a cord? Yep. There we go. You might have to come this way just a little bit more. A little bit more. You got any more slack? There you go. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Now, I left my blade up. Let me drop that blade. I don't like to leave the blade up. There we are. Can you see this press right here, sis? This is where we're going to be working right here. This is a kit called a Mesa, and it was sent to me by Dennis Dower. Now, I've had this for a very, very long time. I just have never put a pin on it. It's just like a Sierra. It's a little fancier, and then it's got a nice little diamond shape to the nib section. I like that. Get everything out of these bags. Okay. I mean, this blank looks really nice, so I guess it doesn't matter where we put the clip. Let's get that turned around. Okay, let me hold that in place. There we go. This refill didn't come with the kit. I don't know where the refill that came with it. I bought a pack of 10 refills for when I was making my oh shucks, Bob, my kitless pins, my bespoke pins. I wanted to have refills on hand so I didn't have to keep swiping them from my pins. There we go. Let's work that a little bit. That's tight. There we go. Get that residue off my fingers. Put that together, and we have a really nice pin. That is a fine point too. That blue is a fine point. Normally you get a medium with these. What do you think about that? I think that turned out really nice. Like I said, I honestly think it deserved one more micro meshing, but in the essence of saving a little bit of time, I decided not to do that. What do you guys think about the pin? So that brings this to a close. Before I let you guys go, I'm not sure how long we've been on. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me. I know a lot of you stuck it out for the entire thing, even through some of the mayhem that we had at the beginning, and I truly do appreciate that. I had a great time showing you how to make these. When you can take your time and glue them up right, it's so much easier and they turn out so much better. But it was a great time. It was a great process. I just had a ball making the pin for you, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. The last few minutes here, have you got any questions in closing that you'd like to get answered about anything? I'd be more than happy to field those for you and, you know, answer anything that I could.
Dropping, very nice, great job.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it. And remember, I used a 55 degree. I've seen people use 60, 45. I've made them with 30. The tighter the angle, so 30 would squeeze this together. 60 would spread it out. So the larger the angle, the farther apart your circles are. All right, guys, if we haven't got any questions, I'm going to go ahead and close this down by thanking everybody so much. And those of you that made live chat donations, I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. It means the world to me that you think enough to do that. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. With that being said, I guess we're going to call it an evening. Have a great evening. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Bye-bye. Did you hit end?